Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Trolleheim with your host, Rabbi Anibal. I'm so happy to be back sharing this virtual classroom with all of you. As we approach to Hanukkah little by little, I hope you have everything ready to celebrate this year. I'm thinking maybe next week I should teach a little bit about Hanukkah so you can go through your to-do list to be sure that you have everything ready to celebrate Hanukkah the right way. Okay, so maybe next week, because I was just checking the calendar, and this is the thing about this, right? If it's not next week, then the week after is already Hanukkah, but it's a Canadian holiday, so we are not going to have class there. The offices are closed. But I think it's in the States too, right? Boxing Day. I mean, in South America, it's nothing. But hey, most people attending this class live in North America. So yeah, next week is our annual Hanukkah class. Okay? Don't forget, next week. Rabbi, the chat from earlier Minyan is still showing. You sound great, and I have to make my own latkes. Oh, you still had. I can't see the chat from the previous stream. I don't know why. I don't. Brenda Grossman, no Boxing Day in the States. Wow. So what do you have on the 26th? Let me know. Is there anything special for the 26th of December? Here is when everybody goes crazy trying to get electronics and stuff. I never understood. It's it's I don't know. I find that there are sales all the time, and the couple of times that I really tried to go on Boxing Day to get something that I wanted, not worth it to go through these lineups and people pushing. No, no. Brenda says shopping and returns. Yeah, returns. I see that. Oh, Boxing Day is only the British Commonwealth. Oh, thank you, Shelley. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Well, we got some good stuff from the British. This is not one of them, unfortunately. Anyway, anyway, we are almost ready to begin with the class. Let's take a couple more minutes to wait the latecomers to the class to join. And yeah, so it's not that I have no problem sometimes repeating a few things when new people come, but it's better if we can follow all together the order of the class at the right time. So, yeah, I hope everybody's week is going well. Here in Winnipeg, it's very cold. We finally started to get the the minus 40 Celsius wind chills, right? Which makes Winnipeg a famous place because of that. It would be better if we could be famous for a different reason, but we are famous because we have all this minus 40 all the time. And it's funny because if you say minus 40 Celsius, how much is that in Fahrenheit? I believe it's the same at that point. That Celsius and Fahrenheit are the same. So it's like minus 40. Yeah, it's cold. It's cold. I had to start using the remote starter from my car. And I have two funerals. One today, right after this class, and then another one tomorrow. At least it's not graveside, so I can do the cemetery part fast. Today is at the Chesed Shelemes, so all the speeches are indoor, and tomorrow is here at the Shari Zedek. So again, all the speeches are indoor. Brenda Grossman, you said fall has finally arrived in Texas. Fall, the leaves are changing, kinda late. Well, we don't have leaves anymore here. And the few leaves that they were still attached to the trees are white now because they're all covered in snow. So you see what happened is depends where you live in Canada. Sometimes this December snows, you have snow and then it will melt. But in Winnipeg it hasn't happened. It stayed there because the temperature is so cold after the last snowfall all the snow is still intact, which makes it a problem for driving and stuff like that. Anyway, we do what we can, right? And this is a test for my new car. I have an electric car, fully electric, 100% electric, and I got mixed reviews before I got the car about electric cars in the winter with extreme weather. I have to say, I'm very thankful. So far, so good. It drains the battery a little bit faster, but I have a charger at home, so it's not really a problem. I don't know. In case you were considering getting an electric car and you go zero emissions for 2025, it's not a bad goal. It's good. It's a good thing. I really enjoy having an electric car and be a little more eco-friendly if you wish. Okay. So we are going to begin with the class, as I mentioned, or as you can see on the title of this class. The parsha for this week is Vayishlach, and it's very appropriate. I don't know if you ever realized that. CAA, yeah, I don't have CAA, Brenda. I have something through Chevrolet. I'm leasing the car, so it's included for the whole lease, and it's very convenient. I use it many times, so they're great. So. This week's parsha is Vayishlach. And I always thought that it's very appropriate that we read Vayishlach right before Hanukkah. It's always 1 or 2 weeks before Hanukkah. And why is that? Because if you think about this, during Hanukkah, one of the things that most people do, I'm not saying everybody, but most people do, is to exchange gifts. Do you do that? Let me know in the chat if you have the tradition to give or receive gifts during Hanukkah. Hey, I have a little guy, my son is 11, so yeah, we get gifts from him in Hanukkah. And what do I say that I find it funny is because this week's Parsha is talking about gifts. Okay? Shelley, you said never. Never about the gifts? Okay. So this week's Parsha is talking about gifts. Remember the context of the gifts? Remember what happened? This was Jacob coming back home. Okay? And he knew that he was going to have to deal finally with Esau, his brother. So the first thing he does is he sends gifts. It's interesting because here the gifts are presented as, how can I say, as a means to make his brother happy. So maybe whenever they re-encounter, he won't be so angry at Jacob because he will see all the gifts. And I don't know if that's you. Let me know in the chat if you feel like that. When you receive a gift, it will change your mood for the rest of the day. I'm curious because for Jacob, this was a strategy to make Esau's day. And I give you all this gift. You're going to be so happy. You're going to forget what I did to you, right? So Brenda, you said Hanukkah gelt is great. Doesn't need to be exchanged on Boxing Day. No. Like, for example, with my son here for Hanukkah, we give him one little present. Usually it's one big present during Hanukkah, but the rest of the nights is a small thing every time we light the candle. Okay, the candle for the day, here is a little present. The candle for the day, there's another little present. And then on the last day of Hanukkah, something a little bigger. I don't know, gets him excited about Hanukkah. And in his case, it does work. A nice present changes his mood. He gets happy, right? And for Jacob, that was a strategy. But it was what was even more interesting was Esau's reaction to the gifts. And there is a philosophical thing, and I think, I'm not sure yet, because I have 2 or 3 ideas. I may talk about this during the sermon on Saturday. The reaction and the attitude towards the gifts. And let me give you an example what I'm talking about, because if you're not familiar with the story, you will be a little lost by now. When Jacob gave all these presents to Esau, Esau's reaction was, "Oh, don't worry, this is not necessary. I have a lot." Okay, I have a lot. In the other side, when Jacob is talking about his own wealth and everything he has, basically, what he says, "I have everything." Yeshli kol. Kol means everything. Why is this so important? Because this, I believe, are two different attitudes in life. This is very deep, what I'm about to say, and I want you to be honest with yourself, if you can, and think about this. There's two different attitudes in life. One is going through life saying, "I have lots," and the other one is saying, "I have everything." What's the difference? If you have lots, you can still have even more to that, and that may be your goal. Your goal is you're never satisfied with what you have, because even though you may even be grateful to say, "I have lots," but that implies I won't stop until I have even more than that. Okay? And that could be in certain situations problematic. Okay? That sometimes adds anxiety, and because we tend to compare to other people. I have lots, but he has even more than that me, so forth. You follow? When you can somehow say, "I have everything," Yeshli kol, I have everything I need. Of course, you can have more, but that doesn't become your life goal to have more. Okay, it's a difficult mindset to achieve. Going through life saying, looking around your family, your friends, and say, "I'm complete. Yeshli kol, I have everything, and if I have more one day, okay, welcome." Right? Because at the end of the day, you will see that Esau said, "Oh, no, brother, don't worry about the presents. I have lots." And Jacob said, "No, no, no, I insist. Please take it with you." Okay. And Esau received all those presents, because a person who look around and said, "I have a lot," there is always room for even more than that. Okay. Well, I make I make I may create a sermon around that, because I think it's a very appropriate topic, especially before Hanukkah. When sometimes for some people presents and expectations are very high. Oh, what am I going to receive this year? And then you don't receive it, and then you get sad. That is another problem. Expectations get in dark places sometimes. When we live our lives with too many expectations, when you expect something, if you don't get it, it's a problem. If your expectations are low, or even better, sometimes you don't really have expectations. Everything that comes your way is an opportunity to be grateful. Okay? Maybe another day we'll talk more about that. But for now, I want to talk about what happened between Jacob and Esau. And specifically, remember last class? I hope you do. We were talking about all the fears of Jacob leaving home. All this new reality that he was involved into, right? He was going to a place he didn't know. He didn't have a penny on his pocket, which is weird. There is a theory that actually Isaac gave Jacob a lot of money to go to this other land, because one of the objectives of going somewhere else was to get married there. And if you want to get married, you need money, right? At least in those days. So, but it looks like there is a theory, there is a midrash suggesting that he was robbed on his way to Haran. Robbed by who? Haha, listen to this. According to the midrash, by Esau's son. Okay? Esau's son. The midrash said that Esau sent his son to kill Jacob in his way to Haran. Esau son actually found Jacob and was about to kill him. And then Esau's son realized that actually he didn't want to kill Jacob because he actually liked him. He liked his uncle. So he talked to Jacob and said, look, my father sent me to kill you. Okay? And I want to honor my father's wish. So I have to. But I also like you. Help me figure something out here. And then Jacob said, look, you don't really have to physically kill me. What you can do is to take everything I own. And that is like killing me. That is a midrash. That is a midrash. So when you take every single possession of someone, it's like killing the person. So because you have, I guess, it's like getting born, born again. You have to start everything again from zero. It's like getting born. And so that's a midrash. That when Esau's son came back home and Esau asked him, did you kill your uncle? He said, yes, I did. I don't know how Esau's son is going to explain Esau now that, Jacob is coming back home. But that's another topic. I'm just sharing with you this midrash about that story. Okay, so let's see what happened and let's explore a little bit the fears that now Jacob is going to have to face the way back. So, this is the famous story of Jacob wrestling with the angel. Very famous story. There are many artistic representations of this. This story piqued the curiosity and the imagination of many artists for centuries. For centuries. The way, and you will see these two muscular men, one with wings, the other one without. One is Jacob, the other one is an angel, fighting. Okay? It's coming from this week's Parsha, that idea. So what happened is, when Jacob was coming back, they had to cross a river. Jacob said to all his family and all his servants, you cross, I am going to stay behind tonight. Okay? And that night, Jacob and the angel, they fought. They said, some interpretation is they wrestle all night. Right? I don't know if maybe Jacob was an expert in, I don't know, judo or jiu-jitsu or something like that. But they were wrestling and they couldn't defeat each other and it was a very long fight. So let me read the story and then let's analyze what actually happened here. But as I read the story, try to imagine Jacob's mindset and all his fears, okay? Because some rabbis will say that this fight never really happened. This was a very vivid dream. And we know in these days that whenever we have a dream, there is something to interpret about that dream. So let's go. It says, at the end of the fight, we are talking here, right? They fought all night. Then the angel said, he said he, but it's the angel. The angel said to Jacob, let me go, for dawn is breaking. Before I continue, think about these words. And I said, these are things that they have to be savored word by word, because all or most of the story of the book of Genesis, they are so close to our life. And think for a second as I continue reading, how many times have you heard the words, let go? When people, or maybe you said it, you said this to somebody else. Let it go. It's a new day. Have you heard that one? Let it go. It's a new day. Pretty similar. Let me go, for dawn is breaking. It's a new day. Let's continue. But Jacob answered, I will not let you go unless or until you bless me. Said the other, what is your name? He replied, Jacob. Said he, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. Now you can understand why we are the children of Israel. Jews. We are the children of Israel. We don't say the children of Jacob. We say the children of Israel because this became his new name. Okay, no longer Jacob but Israel, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed. Jacob asked, pray tell me your name, or please, how should I call you? But the angel said, you must not ask my name. And he took leave of him there. Wow. Wow. If you have anything to say about this, let me know in the chat, because this is very deep. This story is very deep. It's about us wrestling with our own fears. Okay? And how many times we need somebody to tell us, let it go, because it's a new day. And you may say, I can't let it go until I understand what is there for me. Because I just went through this very difficult situation. What have I gained? What have I learned? But I refuse to let go this ugly situation without me understanding that at least I learned something, that at least I'm a different person now that I overcame that challenge. I'm a different person. A different person. You are not Jacob, you are Israel. What a beautiful text. You understand how similar this is to our lives when you feel that after you go through an intense challenge, you become a different person. Jacob became Israel. What would you become? It's up to you. Okay? It's interesting. Don't lose the opportunity to learn all that about yourself. Don't let it go until the angel blesses you. Wonderful text. So let's continue. Now let's try to understand. I want to present to you different opinions about what happened here. Now, let's start with Rabbi Davidson. He said, in our daily prayers, we refer to the songs of praise which the angel sings before Hashem. Okay? The song of praise is the Psuke de Zimbra that we sing every morning for Shachrit. It's the second section. First section of Shachrit is called Birkot HaShachar, and the second section is Psuke de Zimbra, where we have lots of chapters of the book of Psalms, and that's supposed to mirror the angels chanting or singing to God every day. Okay? There is a whole thing, a Kabbalah. David. Yes. Well, that's a good question about his injury. And there are discussions among the rabbis because the first, I don't know if it was the first one, but the most famous rabbi suggesting that this was a dream was Maimonides. And your question, David, was exactly the criticisms that other rabbis had with Maimonides. When they asked if that was a dream, how come he was actually physically injured after that? Okay? So, but sometimes it does happen that, something happened during our dream. And I remember one of my best friends from Argentina, he came with a cast one day to school and said, what happened to you? And he had a dream that he was fighting with someone, and he woke up when actually he hit the wall of his bedroom. And in Argentina, believe me, we don't use drywall. It's brick and cement. And he broke his hand during the dream. I don't know who he was fighting in the dream, but to the point that he needed a cast. So it could happen. It could happen something like that. Okay, so let's continue. In our daily prayers, we refer to the song of praise which the angel sings before Hashem. The angels have shifts, singing at designated times of day or night. Remember, this also mirrored the ladder that Jacob's dream. You see, The type of praise they sing reflects the particular angel's spiritual status. The angel singing is alluded to in the above mentioned story of Jacob's fight with the angels, at the end of which the angels pleaded with Jacob to free him, for the dawn has risen. According to the Midrash, the angel's rush was because his shift to sing before Hashem had arrived. Similarly, according to the Midrash, when Moses spent 40 days studying with Hashem, he knew what time of day it was based on the changing shifts of the angels singing. Okay, this is one interpretation of the whole story of why the angel have to go, but it's also talking about the fact that even the struggle has an expiration date. Okay, that is not forever. It's not forever. You have to struggle for the duration of the night, and that's it. But so you have to be strong until that time comes. So here's the same, because even this angel eventually had to leave Jacob alone. In this context, the angel had to go back singing to God. But as I'm saying, this concept of angels having shift was also part of Jacob's dream when he was escaping from his home. Remember that night he dreamt with his ladder going to heaven and angels up and down. Okay, it's almost the same thing. Like one shift is over and the other shift is coming. Okay, and it's very interesting. Again, Maimonides is saying that this was all a dream because Jacob was prone to dreaming with angels. So it's not so crazy to think that, but it was all a dream. Okay? So let's continue. Now, Rabbi Shmuel Klitzner, listen what he says. He said, it's again very philosophical. The things that you are wrestling with are the things you've relegated to darkness. You can wrestle with things in the dark, but when the rise of dawn comes, that enlightenment is the most threatening part of it. It's very interesting what the rabbi said, right? One thing is to have everything in the darkness, to the point that maybe you don't even know where you fight. Have you ever have that feeling that sometimes you don't even know what you're against? That it's just that sometimes we just fight, and but when we understand what's going on, okay, I can imagine, because you have to understand this. Jacob never fully saw the angel. He realized he was fighting against something. Okay? And it was a very powerful opponent. Eventually, in the morning, he could finally see what he had in front of him, and I can't even imagine what he felt at this time when he realized that he was fighting an angel all night, and now he could see this being clearly, to the point that when Jacob waited until the end to say, "Who are you? Tell me your name." Not before, because before he was just fighting. Right now that he understood the scope of this encounter is when Jacob, all of a sudden, and it gets all cramped together, gets all this request. Okay? Bless me. Tell me your name. And so forth. It's interesting. And I don't know, again, I think this is a invitation for ourselves sometimes to try to understand. When you will see people around going angry and they're belligerent all the time. And then you say, why? Do you even realize that you are like that? Have you ever stopped thinking or trying to analyze or to understand the why. What Jacob, it looks like, it didn't understand that until the morning. And it could be, a scary moment as well. But for Jacob, that was the beginning of the blessing, because he understood everything. So as again, this is another theory, another understanding of what happened that night. Okay, if you have more opinions and more things to say, please use the chat. I always like to know what you think. Let's go to the next one. Listen to this. Now, this question is an opening to the conversation, like, where are you? And what is in your hand? And other similar places, because he knew his name when he was sent to him. What it's talking about here is, why will the angel ask Jacob, hey dude, what's your name? So if that being was an angel sent by God, God probably sent to the angel, go down to fight Jacob. God didn't say, go down to fight that guy over there. So according to the rabbis, the angel knew Jacob by name. So, but is that true? How come the angel say, what's your name? And according to Rabbi David Kimchi, the Radak, very famous rabbi, the question is like a how you call it, how you say in English, like an icebreaker. Okay, just to engage Jacob in a dialogue. How so? Well, it's the same way when God asked Adam and Eve, where are you? Right? And they Adam and Eve said, well, we were hiding because we realized that we were naked. But how come God said, where are you? God didn't know where they were? Of course God knew. But God wanted to open a dialogue with them to see if they will open up about what they just did. Okay? Same thing with Moses. When God said to Moses, what is that in your hand? So Moses didn't know, God didn't know that. Yeah. But, and this is again, what all the things have in common? God knew, but Moses didn't realize. And again, let me tell you this. Let me ask you a question. Sometimes, and it happened. I talked about that last week during the sermon. You can have the answer in your hand for a long time, and you don't realize that. So Moses was in distress. He needed to do something to get the Jewish people out of Egypt. And he didn't know what to do until God said, okay, what is that in your hand? And Moses said, it's a stick. And then Moses, at that point, realized, all right, the magic stick that God gave me. Same thing when God talked to Adam and Eve. Where are you? They were hiding, right? But maybe they didn't realize the full scope of what that means, being hiding. Can you really hide from God? Okay, now I understand. I cannot hide from God. Okay? And there is, so again, all these questions are triggering the realization of something deeper. So what Jacob is saying, what's your name? The angel knew the name, but the idea was for Jacob to remember his name, right? Oh, my name is Jacob. Now, it's not Jacob anymore, because Jacob implies trickery. Jacob implies cutting corners, taking shortcuts. You're not a Jacob anymore. Don't call yourself a Jacob anymore. You left it behind. You are much more now. Now you are Israel. Israel comes from the word yashar, which means straight. You're not a trickster anymore. You are now, like an honest individual. So don't call yourself a Jacob anymore. You are much more than that. In theory, Jacob, all that information was already inside Jacob, but he didn't fully realize that until the angel asked Jacob, what's your name? It wasn't for the sake of the angel. It was for the sake of Jacob to realize that. Okay, that's why it's so interesting. The Radak's comments about the question. It was perhaps that question was as important as the fight that happened before. Shelley Chochinov, you said a name is a very powerful thing. Let me highlight it here. Some think that giving your name to another is giving them power over you. Yeah, the name is very powerful, and hopefully we'll have enough time today to show you how powerful it is, the name in Judaism. Okay, it is part of the class, but I don't know if I will be able to reach that slide. So let's continue. Now, Shelley, to what you were saying. Names represent our identity, not simply because they're a convenient way to allow us to be distinguished one from another. Okay? It is because they define us. How can a name define you? Let's see. The names are given at birth. The names we are giving at birth aren't accidental. They are to some extent prophetic. They capture our essence. They are the keys to our soul. How so? Well, the Hebrew word for soul is neshama. Central to that word, the middle two letters, shin and mem, make the word shem, Hebrew for name. So your name is the key to your soul. So, David, you say here, so it doesn't sound like we should name our both Jacob if it implies trickery. Well, Jacob was much more than trickery. It was a component of trickery, especially because it was used for a bad cause, right? The idea is sometimes we need to have a good imagination and to find ways to be effective, but for good reasons, not for the reasons that Jacob envisioned. Okay, and at the end of the day, when we count our patriarchs, it's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there is still a lot of good in Jacob, especially because everything, and I don't want to get too Kabbalistic here. I will try to keep it to the minimum. Everything could be for good reason or for a bad reason. Okay, everything is the essence of this world is a duality. The fact that everything has two sides. Two sides: tall, short, light, dark, and so forth. Everything is dual in this world. So Jacob, by essence, was the most dual of all the patriarchs. How so? He was a twin, right? He had two names, two wives, so forth. But even as Jacob, the whole idea was to learn that, all that intelligence that he had to trick his father, right? And to trick his brother. I said, dude, you're a smart guy. Why do you have to use your smart to do that? Don't you realize that the same smarts that you use for that could be used for a good reason, right? So it was also part of the name Jacob. So, Glenn, welcome. He said, my hero is Gedalia, who was a pretty tragic figure. This negativity has followed me, so I wanted to change it. The rabbi said I could add to it only, so I added Gershom for Elias. Yeah, you can change actually your name if you want, and that's true. The way we do it is to add is to add to that. It's absolutely right that we can do that. But the name Gedalia, yes, you can actually talk about the historical figure of Gedalia and Jerusalem and all that. But Gedalia has much more than that. Much more than that. It's composed by two words. Gadol, Yah. Gadol means big. Yah means God, right? But it's also up to you. It's also up to you, Glenn, to understand Gedalia as tragic, or to understand Gedalia as basically that your mission is to make the name of God great. Sometimes it's up to us to understand the concept of duality and to learn how to use our gift for a positive thing. And the name we give is a gift. It's a gift because it's the key to our soul. And you have in you, and I think I don't know you, I don't know your talents, your skills, or anything, but your name as Gedalia is telling me that you have what it takes to make the name of God great and to attract other people to the name of God. Yeah. And then Gershom was the son of Moses, right? It's also very, very powerful. But at the same time, what is the meaning of Gershom? Is I was a foreigner there, Gershom. So it's every name is special. Every name is special, especially the one that we receive at birth, because if we fully understand it, it marks our path. Sometimes to make it easier when we struggle to figure out what to do with our lives. My name in Hebrew is Yitzhak. It comes from tzchok, which means laughter. And everybody knows me that I like jokes and things. And I like to feel that it's not a coincidence, right? That I like jokes and make people laugh. But it could take also a negative connotation. Yitzhak as a figure, as a historical figure, right? The one who was also always sacrificed by the father, the one that didn't have independence. And so I chose that my interpretation of Yitzhak, the one that is going to mark my life, is the one that make other people laugh and make them feel joy, uplift them, and so forth. Yeah. But thank you, Glenn, for bringing that up. It's very important. Okay. So, and yes, names are important. And when you think that you are naming your son, you're not naming your son. According to the rabbis, at that point, you become a prophet. You know, when you go through lists, you talk to your wife, or to or your wife talks to you, and so you discuss with grandparents and think, you think that you're choosing the name is God telling you, whispering you what the name is going to be, and that's the name you're going to use for your son because it represents the essence of their soul. Wonderful concept. So let's continue here. Now, I want to say, Glenn, that the most common way why people change the name is when they are sick, right? They are sick. Listen to this. The change of name as a cure for illness is derived from the Talmud. 4 things annul the decree that seals a person's fate, namely alms, prayer, change of name, and change of deeds, or sometimes change of the residence, the place where you live. There is a common phrase that it says, Meshane makom, meshane mazal. If you change your place, changes your mazal. Mazal is, technically, mazal is the planetary influence or astrological influence, which was an old belief of the rabbis, but it means that if you change your place, it will change your luck. Take it that way. Right? If you feel that, you can't win anything, wherever you are. Everything goes against you. You have setback after setback. So back in the day, the rabbis would recommend, okay, maybe you should go live somewhere else. Okay? So meshane makom, meshane mazal. Glenn, you said call your son Micah. Beautiful. Like the prophet. You see? The one who heard the word of God. So every name, you have to always look for the positive of every name. So let's go here. So we know these things and all the decrees. Okay? So Rabbi Judah a Chassid in the 13th century says, if one is dangerously sick, his name should be changed immediately, right? Which may reverse the decree. The new name for the patient is selected from the Bible. There are many different ways on how we do this. I will just share with you the one that is presented by Rabbi Wilhelm Bacher. Okay, and he will say, the new name for the patient is selected from the Bible. The first name that appears on a given page being adopted. So what you do is you take your Bible, you open it randomly in any page you want, and then you see what is the first name you see there. The first name you see there is like God was moving your hand, and that's the name that you adopt. Okay, this is the tradition. There are some others, as Jerome says here in the chat, is adding Chaya or Chaim if it's a man, Chaim, Chaya if it's a woman, because it means life. Okay, so you are the name life to the name of a person that is very sick. So Rabbi Israel Bruna, in his responsa, protested against the adoption of the name of a wicked person when such was the first found, and ordered it to be passed over for the first righteous one, citing, the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall perish. Okay, so this is another thing. You keep opening the Bible until you see some powerful name, the name of a good person. Okay, so you open the Bible, the first person you read there is, I don't know, Haman, the evil character of the book of Esther. Now, keep going until you find another one. Mordecai. Yep, that's a good one. Adopt the name Mordecai. And so forth. Okay? And so let me show you the underlying principle in changing the name of one who is ill is the assumption that the former name under which the divine decree was issued. So it's almost like you have to imagine God wrote on a piece of paper, so and so must die. And God will pass this to an angel and said, hey, dear angel, go to this address to look for so and so and bring his soul here. So the person will die. So what do? We change places, or we change the name. So when the angel comes and said, is Moshe Pipik here? No, there is nobody called that way. Okay? I said, okay, thank you. And then the angel goes back to God and says, sorry, I couldn't find the person there. And then it said, you basically, it's not that you heal the person, you gain time, because now there has to be another decree presented and so forth. That is the tradition. I know there is a little bit of superstition involved in that, but this is the way it is. It's a very ancient tradition. Let's continue. Okay. So, it's the assumption that the former name under which a divine decree was issued becomes non-existent, and that when a new name is given him, he becomes another person in regard to whom the decree has no force. In a later period, the original name was retained and another added to it, usually one signifying the recovery of the patient. The most popular additional names were, as Jerome mentioned before, Chaim, Shalom, Raphael, Hazriel, or some other name selected from the Bible. Okay, so in this tradition that this Rabbi Einstein is presenting, is not just a random name, but you can also use Chaim or Chaya if it's a woman, Shalom or Shlomit in the case that there is a woman, Raphael or Rafaela, Azriela. Okay, so Raphael is the angel of healing, so that's another way of doing it. But just wanted to show you that this is a real thing in Judaism. So this is the formula that we use when we want to change the name of somebody who is sick. Okay, so you won't find this in random places. So I'm glad that you all guys are here in this class, that you have the opportunity to actually get to read the text used by rabbis when they want to change the name of a person. Listen to this. You read like this. When the righteous judgment has already decreed death from illness, behold, our saintly rabbi said, Three things annul the decree, and one of them is changing the name of the patient. We, therefore, in conformity with their advice, have changed the name of, and then you mention the original name, to the name of, and then you mention the new name, who is now another person. The decree shall not have any force with regard to him or her. You have to change the gender if you want. Together with the change in name, so shall his decree be reversed from justice to mercy, from death to life, from illness to perfect health. For, and you mentioned the new name, in the name of all the sacred names mentioned in his Sefer Torah, and in the name of the angels, the messengers of all healing and salvation, O Lord, send speedily and perfect cure to the name, that his days and years may be prolonged in happiness, in goodness, and in peace forever and ever. Amen. Selah. So you see, it says, in the name of all the sacred names mentioned in the Torah. What does it mean? That basically we usually say, please heal the person in the name of God. But here is the same concept, that heal the person in the name of God, but because we don't know the real name of God, in the name of every name of God mentioned in the Torah. Okay? That's the idea. And also in the name of all the holy angels. It's a way of involving the angels to pray with you to God. This is a very Kabbalistic text. Very Kabbalistic, mystical text. And yes, as I mentioned before, there is a little bit of a superstition mix here, but it's a very ancient tradition that we have, the tradition of changing the name when somebody's sick. And as far as I know, we do this once. I've never seen people do it more than once. I guess you could eventually do it again and change the name again, but I haven't seen that. But yes, I guess you can do it again if you need it. Right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing. And this is, David, what you were mentioning before, the fact that after Jacob fought with the angel injured Jacob on the side. And that's why the Torah says, that is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the thigh muscle that is on the socket of the hip, since Jacob's hip socket was wrenched at the thigh muscle. This is a big thing in the kosher industry, that the butcher has to remove that section, and he has two options. Number one is to remove the sciatic nerve, which is very time consuming and not good for profit. Because kosher is an industry, which means that you have to produce fast enough to satisfy the market. And if you're going to stop with every piece of meat that you cut from that section of the animal to remove the nerve, you won't make any money unless you have to charge a lot of money to do that. So yeah, there are pieces of meat where the nerve was removed, and then you can eat it, but you have to be aware that if you ever ask for those pieces of meat, it's going to be very, very, very expensive. Okay? So that's the thing that you have to have into consideration, and I didn't want to close the class before answering that question. So that's why I wanted to see this thing. And I think we can leave it here, because then I wanted to talk a little bit about kashrut, because it's mentioned in this portion indirectly with this part of the animal that we don't eat, but we don't have time for that. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for coming to the class. I love your questions today and your comments. They were great. They were great. They added a lot to this. Sometimes I like when it's I don't like when it's just a lecture from me. I like when you have all these beautiful comments so we can do it back and forth. David, you said, as we say, no buts allowed. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your kind words. And remember, next week, God willing, We're going to meet at the same day, same times. It's every Thursday at noon. We are going to study about Hanukkah so we can prepare for this beautiful holiday and we can be sure that we have everything we need to celebrate Hanukkah the way Hanukkah deserves, right? So keeping all the details because it is a beautiful holiday after all. Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you missed part of this class, remember the recording of this class is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time, so you can catch it again if you want. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.